It seems like Michael Andretti loves making enemies in Formula One, and apart from Wolff, his old nemesis, Andretti has taken jabs at every F1 team owner. Remember, he's not even in Formula One yet, and he's been making claims like this. It seems like he has a lot of confidence that once he enters the sport, something that's yet to be given the green light by the FIA, the performance will be there, and he'll be able to back up his talk. Michael Andretti has been trying to enter Formula One for quite some time now, and it seems like the FIA is finally ready to give him what he's been very persistent about getting. But on the other hand, it seems like his entrance won't come without consequences, and one huge reason for that is the way that he's been treated by F1 team bosses. It's evident that the current teams aren't really happy that another team is going to join the grid. Sure, they're benefiting from increased popularity from the United States, which will host 3 races in 2023 after only 2 years ago. But it seems like they're not ready to deal with the consequences of the increased popularity, such as Americans wanting to cheer for an all-American team that they are currently seeing in Andretti. Michael Andretti has struck a deal with General Motors, specifically Cadillac, to enter the sport through a partnership which has triggered the F1 bosses once more. This time, they were a bit angry because Andretti isn't officially in Formula One, yet he's been acting like he's been given the green light and making contracts left and right. To this, the FIA had to react through a tweet in which they had to remind Andretti that not only he hadn't been given the green light, but that there were also other companies and individuals that were eager to enter the sport as the 11th team. Sure, none of them have a 575,000 square foot facility in Fishers, Indiana that's supposed to house all of Andretti's sporting projects and be operational from 2025 on, but that doesn't mean that Andretti can brag about being in Formula One when the final nod hasn't been given to him. Still, he felt like the team bosses are full of greed, and the only reason they don't want him to enter the sport as the 11th team is because they're all about the money. When talking about whether he is surprised about how he's been treated, Andretti added, "I'm not surprised. In F1, the owners look out for themselves, not what is best for the series. That is the difference between President Mohammed's position and the team owner's position. President Mohammed is looking out for the future of the sport. Mohammed gets it. He's a racer and he understands the series needs to have 1 or 2 more teams. It is an FIA championship and it holds the most cards to get the expression of interest going. Andretti is eager to prove that he is going to increase the popularity of the sport even further, something that started back in 2020 through the documentary Drive to Survive. The majority of the new fans are from the United States, and while the Formula One caravan has begun to visit circuits such as Jeddah and Qatar, the fans aren't in large numbers. On the other hand, the USA attendance has skyrocketed from the Austin GP this year and the inaugural race in Miami as well. From 2023 onward, the F1 caravan is going to visit the street circuit of Las Vegas, and if Andretti enters the sport from 2026 onward with Colton Herta as one of his drivers, rest assured that the attendance is going to boom even further. This would simply imply that Andretti will eventually have a significant positive impact on F1 revenue, not only by attracting new investors, but by also increasing attendance and interest in the sport and selling more merchandise to fans. Obviously, this is something that the existing team bosses don't want to hear about because they're about to lose 10% of the revenue money that they're receiving at the end of the year. This is supposed to be combated with Andretti paying $200 million in a dilution fund, money that is going to be transferred equally to every existing team on the grid. Even with this, there are sides that are not happy with Andretti, as Steiner has said that the dilution fund sum is too low, and with the increased costs and inflation, it should be around $600 million. Andretti has spoken further about how the sport is being viewed by the team bosses, sending a strong message to people like Wolff and Steiner, as he added, "It's all about money. First, they think they're going to get diluted 1/10 of their prize money, but they also get very greedy, thinking, we will take all the American sponsors as well. It's all about greed and looking at themselves and not looking at what is best for the overall growth in the series." As of now, Andretti is in a very good position, and what goes in his favor is the fact that he has the support of Ben Mohammed Sulayem, the president of the FIA. On the other side, the president of the FIA goes against the president of the sport, Stefano Domenicali, who believes that the sport doesn't need more teams and that Formula One has always been about quality and not quantity. But let's look at one of the last teams that have joined the grid, Haas, and how they performed in the 144 races so far. They don't have a single win, and they have scored 3 points in the 2020 season and 0 points in the 2021 season. Sure, they bounced back in 2022 and got off to a good start, but the performance was lacking from Austria onwards, which is why they finished P9 right where they were in 2020. Overall, Wolff wants to say that Andretti cannot prove that he will bring more value to the sport than he'll take away from it, and this is where the problem sits with him. However, the Austrian feels like the move that was made by Andretti to sign a contract with Cadillac and General Motors was a powerful one, and one that deserves the respect and the attention of the F1 world. Still, Andretti has a long way to go until he makes his debut with Formula One, but it seems like he is making strong progress regarding the engine manufacturer. General Motors has missed the deadline for the 2026 engines, meaning that if they were to enter the sport, they would have to use an engine from another supplier. Obviously, this will change in the future, and Andretti will look forward to involving an American manufacturer in the production of F1 engines, which would be the final push toward the all-American dream. But as of now, Mark Reuss, the CEO of General Motors, said that a contract has been made with an engine manufacturer, and that will be announced in due course, obviously after the team has given the green light. A decision that makes the most sense for Andretti and GM is to sign a contract with Honda, with the Japanese company wanting to withdraw from the sport from 2026 onwards, now that Red Bull will enter the 2026 season with their own powertrain. This hasn't been confirmed by Mark Reuss, but it's evident that the thought crossed his mind, and it's likely that this is the direction that he is thinking as well, further adding, "We have signed agreement with a power unit supplier to begin with, and then as we move forward, we bring a lot of our expertise to create things for the future as well." On the EV part of it, obviously we do not have a large partnership with Honda. We also compete against Honda in series like IndyCar as well. So we have the natural respect and relationship, which is not problematic at all. We'll talk about the engine piece of this at a later date. A very interesting period lies ahead of Andretti and GM, and obviously they need to be very careful with their statements because they don't have many friends on the grid. Apart from Alpine and McLaren, and a couple of encouraging messages from Christian Horner, no one on the grid wants to see Andretti present, let alone successful in the sport, and there are companies that are waiting to see how this situation will unfold, such as Ford and Hyundai, because they've been interested in entering the sport as well. The president of the FIA has spoken about adding a 12th team to the grid in due course, and it seems like Andretti has opened the way for other teams as well. With that being said, the Formula One sport is expanding, and we're down to see how it will all play out on the field from 2026 onward. What do you think is next for Andretti and his friendships on the grid? Let us know in the comments below.